So I wanted to talk about um, the idea of mind and will overriding environment. Because we can be placed in environments, or environments can be set up and rigged to not be in our favor by outside opposing forces other than ourselves. But the cool thing about being the image and likeness of God is that you create. We're creating all the time, and our experience is chiefly affected. I mean, the biggest factor of our experience is our mind, our actions, our mind and our will that lead to our behaviors and actions and consequences. And I wanted to set that in the context of something that is a genuine myth, and it's been a myth that has been propagated by the setting up of an environment, and that's the myth of the absentee black father. And I say that not to say that every black father is present in every kid's life, but the myth is that we are somehow the worst fathers out there, when statistically the data says otherwise. Not to say that we're all present in our kids' lives. We know, and there are women out there that have to do both roles. But this idea that all of us are just out there bad, when in fact, we're not. So listen to this. The New York Times, on their website back in June 8th, 2015, published an article. And the article basically is titled, How Black Dads Are Doing Best of All. How black dads are doing best of all. Not best against themselves from 20 years ago. Not best now that we're out of the crack generation and into the millennial generation. Or best than what we did as opposed to pre-civil rights. No, it says best of all. Best of all. So, the article references the CDC study. And it also references a book by a man named Josh Leves called All In, and his specific chapter, which is titled the same as the article, How Black Dads Are Doing Best of All, but in parentheses, but there's still a crisis. So in this book, he compares black dads, white dads, and Hispanic dads. The three largest racial groups, racial, ethnic. We can argue is it racial, is it ethnic, is it national, but we would just say the three largest population groups within America. And he goes to say that while he says the CDC group talks about 72% of all black mothers are single, but what they fail to see is they take that as statistically as saying that they're not registered or legally married. That's one thing. We could talk about that. You should be married before you have kids. We could talk about that, but I'm just talking about statistical data right now. And they were saying that 2.5 million black fathers are actually living with their children, while 1.5 million are not. But they said that it's not a 72% number, right? The majority are living. It was just talking about being legally on the books and checking on that birth certificate that you're married, right? So we could say, well, one of the myths then comes from that statistical breakdown of being living but not married, and considering the whole married versus single, and how we've always made that juxtaposition in this country when we're recording data. But reason I say this, so then they started breaking down some numbers even further. They were saying that out of all of the dads living with their kids, whether married or unmarried, living with their kids that they did this survey with, they were talking about a couple of things. These were children, so they did all children under 5, and they said one of the things was what percentage fed or ate with their child. So they either fed their child or ate with their child daily. Black fathers, 78%, 78.2%. White fathers, 73.9%. Hispanic fathers was like 63.5%. We won statistically. All right, so that's the thing. So we won that category, right? Then they were talking about bathing. We won that category. So all of these things that denoted a relationship, black fathers led in every single category. And then when they measured black fathers who don't live with their kids, we even had a greater percentage gap in actually doing those things. The number significantly dropped off, but we still led in every category. Fed or ate with their child daily. We were at 16.8%. It was 8 and change for white fathers, 6 and change for Hispanic fathers. Again, while there is still an issue of black fathers not only living in the home, should be more engaged, and black fathers who are not living in the home should be more engaged as well, should be at least engaged, while there's still across the board this significant dip between when you're living with your child and when you're not living with your child. And also still 78%, there's still 22, 21 and change percent African American fathers who are in the house but not actively fully present in their child's lives. And that's a slippage too. But the idea is we're actually, as much as the environment and all of the systems being set up to try to dissuade us, to keep us out of our kids' lives, to keep us into some bad things that keep us off the streets, period. So you argue, as much as the environment has been set up as tricks, traps, and pitfalls for young African American men, for African American men of all ages, if a man wants to, if a man wishes it, if a man sees it as what he needs to do to be a man, he can't be stopped. We are present in our kids' lives despite everything that tries to stop us from actually even being alive. We are present. Consciousness, thoughts, will. If you want to do something, the environment can't stop you from doing it. The fact of the matter is that we've been told all these years we are absentee fathers. We've believed it. Our women have believed it. Our parents, our kids have believed it. But statistic, you can't argue with data, says we are actually the most present father out of all the groups. It's amazing. It's amazing. Stop believing what people tell you about something and stop believing what people tell you about yourself. Use your mind. Use your will to create the experience for you. If black men, after all these decades of being told we were absentee fathers, being told that we ain't in our kids' lives, and then also them doing all these things, the system doing all these things to engineer the breakdown of the black nuclear family, the will of black men who've chosen to be present overrides all of that for them to actually be present, man. It's just amazing. It's just amazing how that can actually come about. Man, we're so much more than the environment that we're put in. We're so much more than the lies we've been told. Think about it.